Are your chickens laying eggs in the yard? Sometimes it can be very funny to find a random chicken egg in your yard. My name is Jamelyn with Backyard Dino, and I'm behind this YouTube channel and also my website, backyarddino.com. I'll be starting a newsletter in March, and I'd love it if you'd sign up for it and join me on my journey as I'm raising chickens in my backyard for eggs and companionship. In this video, I will go over 12 reasons that I have found my chickens laying eggs in the backyard. I'm sure there's other reasons, but this video is just going to be a real quick rundown at the 12 reasons that I found. Number 1, chickens are new to laying. When young chickens or pullets first start to lay eggs, it's not unusual for them to lay their eggs in random places, including the middle of the yard. Because egg laying is a new bodily function, young chickens sometimes aren't sure where they're supposed to be laying their eggs. Pullets can be taught to lay their eggs in the nesting boxes by placing wooden or ceramic false eggs in the nesting boxes. You can also place golf balls in the nesting boxes to encourage young chickens to lay their eggs there. When chickens see eggs in a nest, they assume that it's a safe place for them to lay their eggs too. Since pullets lay eggs about once every 3 days, it can take a couple of weeks for all of your pullets to be trained on the exact place to lay their eggs. As pullets become accustomed to laying eggs, they should become more regular at laying in their nesting boxes. 2 of my barred Plymouth Rocks started laying eggs at exactly 24 weeks, and the remaining 8 chickens started laying over the next 2 weeks. Number 2, hot weather. In hot weather, chickens are more prone to lay their eggs outside of the nesting boxes and in the yard under bushes. Both free-range and confined chickens will do this in hot weather. The weather begins to get warm for chickens around 85 degrees, which is when they can start to pant. When the temperature is hot outside, it can be even more hot inside the chicken coop, which is usually where the nesting boxes are located. Chickens will lay their eggs in the yard or under a cool bush during hot weather because they don't want to go inside of the coop. If you notice your chickens are laying their eggs in the yard during hot weather, you might want to check the temperature of your coop and make sure it's not too hot. I have a thermometer in my coop, so I can just peek in there really quick and see what the temperature is. If you can, open all the doors and windows and make sure that there's a continual breeze throughout the chicken coop during hot weather. Number 3, the chickens are too far from their nesting boxes. When chickens free range, they can end up too far from the nesting box when the urge to lay happens, resulting in them laying the eggs in the yard. If you have a large backyard, your chickens might not be able to make it back to the nesting boxes in time. This can also happen during hot weather when chickens will get too warm walking the distance back to the chicken coop and will find a shady spot to lay their egg in the yard. To prevent your chickens from laying eggs randomly in the yard when they free range, make sure to set up some temporary nesting boxes closer to your chickens. You can use a milk crate or a moving box or any type of box that's just open on one side, and then your chickens can go in there. Number 4, crowded nesting boxes. Another reason why chickens may lay their eggs in the yard is because there are too many chickens per nesting box. In general, you should have 1 nesting box for every 4 to 5 chickens. Crowded nesting boxes can cause stress among chickens in your flock, so make sure you provide them with enough places to lay their eggs. If you have a broody hen or chickens that like to hang out in your nesting box, you might consider adding additional boxes to make sure that everyone has a place to go lay. Sometimes chickens will crawl over each other to get into the one nesting box to lay eggs, and this can lead to fighting amongst your hens, so just make sure that you've got enough boxes. Usually there's only 1 nesting box that my chickens like to use at a time. Right now it's the one on the far right corner, but at other times it's been the one on the far left corner. You can try to use false eggs or wooden eggs as your chickens get older to encourage them to use the other nesting boxes, but I found that as my chickens became older and were laying eggs more frequently, when they saw a wooden egg in the nesting box, they just kicked that out into the run. I wasn't going to fool them. Number 5, insufficient space in the nesting boxes. Chickens can choose to lay their eggs in the yard if the nesting boxes themselves are too tight. A nesting box should be large enough for a chicken to sit in the box and comfortably lay an egg. If it's too large, some hens don't feel like it's secluded enough and will seek out a more private nesting location elsewhere. Some chickens will lay eggs in the yard under bushes or in other secret places if they don't feel comfortable in their nesting boxes. In general, a nesting box for a regular sized chicken should be 12 inches by 12 inches by 12 inches. If you have a larger breed chicken, it would be a little bit bigger, and if you have a bantam, obviously the nesting box requirements are smaller. Nesting boxes should be appropriately sized for the type of chicken breed that you're raising, so take this into consideration when you're building or buying your chicken coop. Most chicken coop kits or instructions for building coops will give you the nesting box dimensions, so just check those against the general requirement of a 12 by 12 by 12 box, just to make sure you're building a big enough nesting box. Number 5, nesting boxes are dirty. If nesting boxes are excessively dirty, your chickens might choose to lay elsewhere. As a general rule, chicken coops should probably get a deep cleaning twice a year. This means replacing the bedding, scraping off any poop on the roosting bars, and cleaning out any of the material you have in your nesting boxes. Obviously, if your chicken coop has a strong ammonia odor or you see a lot of flies, you probably want to clean it out more often than that. In my nesting boxes, I use nesting pads that I found on Amazon, and they're actually the best material I've found so far for my nesting boxes. I used pine shavings in my nesting boxes at first, but the chickens kept scratching them out, and then it was just the bare nesting box that they were laying their eggs on. When the chickens would lay eggs, it would hit the bottom of the nesting box, and it would sometimes cause the eggs to crack. And when the eggs are cracked, then all the chickens run in there and they start eating the eggs, and it's pretty chaotic. What I have found are these nesting pads, and they last a really long time, especially given the fact that my chickens are only using one nesting box at a time. I'll have the other nesting pads in the other boxes just in case, but the one that I'm having to change out more frequently is the one that they're using, and I'll only buy a package of these nesting pads twice a year, so it's actually pretty cost effective. Number 7, your nesting boxes are too drafty. If your chicken coop and nesting boxes are too drafty, your chickens are going to find a warmer place to go and lay their eggs. So ventilation for a chicken coop is an absolute must-have requirement, but too much of a good thing can lead to issues. So during the winter, if it's too drafty and if there's a bitterly cold wind blowing through your chicken coop and on your nesting boxes, your chickens might find a place that's a little bit warmer to go and lay. Some of my chickens are able to quickly lay an egg, while others can take minutes or several hours to actually pop out the egg. So if it's not comfortable in their nesting box because they're too cold, they will go find someplace else. Number 8, not enough privacy. Some of my chickens require more privacy than others when it comes to laying eggs. Nesting boxes should be in a quiet location with some privacy so that your chickens will be more inclined to lay in those boxes without having an audience there. Some of my hens can pop out an egg in the middle of the coop, in the middle of the run, or in the middle of the yard. However, some of my chickens require an incredible amount of privacy, and if you open the nesting box lid while they're in there, they get really upset. It's best to place your nesting boxes in a quiet location away from barking dogs or revving engines or any place that's got like a lot of noise going on, because that noise can prevent your chickens from wanting to lay their eggs there, and then they might go someplace else in the yard, like under a bush, to lay their eggs instead. If you have quiet nesting boxes, you're encouraging your chickens to go and lay their eggs there. Number 9, nesting boxes are too bright. Nesting boxes need to be dimly lit to encourage your chickens to lay their eggs there. When there's dim lighting, your chickens feel like it's a safe place to lay their eggs, and they're more likely to lay there. That's why if you find random eggs laid in your yard, usually they're under a bush or in a plant or even a planter, and it's because your chickens felt like that was a safe place to lay. If it's too bright, they're afraid that predators might find their nest and attack their eggs. I've seen some people that put up nesting box curtains in their chicken coop, and essentially what that is it's just a piece of fabric that you can tack up in your nesting boxes, and it provides your chickens with some privacy. If you're going to do the nesting box curtains, you probably want to leave them open for a few days to let your chickens get used to the fact that there's now a curtain there. And then after they've discovered that that's a place for them to go and lay eggs, you can untack it to where it's closed while they're in there, and they'll know to go in and out to lay their eggs there. Number 10, your chicken is excited. So sometimes my chickens can get so excited that they just pop out an egg in the middle of the yard and they don't even realize this. I've noticed this on a couple of different occasions. In my chicken coop, I've got the Over Easy chicken coop kit, and it's got the human door, and sometimes when I've opened that door to let all of my girls out to free range, I noticed that there was one that was so excited to be going outside into the yard that she just popped an egg out right there. Then another time I've had a chicken get so excited was when I had their chicken scratch in their red Solo cup, and I shook it for them to come running towards me, and the hen just popped out an egg in the middle of the yard while she was running towards me. So when chickens get excited, they can also lay eggs inadvertently just right there in the middle of everything. Number 11, stress can cause chickens to not lay in their nesting boxes. If a chicken has experienced a stressful event like they were just chased by a dog or a hawk almost got them. It can cause them to prematurely lay an egg before they're able to get back to the nesting box. I've never seen this happen, but I've heard it before and it sounds like super stressful, so just make sure your chickens are well protected and they've either got to run or you keep them in the backyard and you don't have anything that can come in and attack them. Number 12, and this one's super obvious. Your chickens might be laying their eggs in the yard because the coop door is closed. If your chickens can't get in their coop and can't get to their nesting boxes, they can be laying eggs outside in the yard. So with my chicken coop, you know how I've got the human door that opens, and this was back in the day when I used to let them free range. I don't let them do that as much now because they've torn up my yard. When I was letting them free range, they would get out, and I noticed one day that the coop door had actually blown shut and they weren't able to get back in. So I made sure that I was able to prop that open when they were outside free ranging, and that way they could all get back inside of the coop. There you have it, 12 reasons why your chickens might be laying eggs in the yard. Some of those reasons are a little bit more obvious than others, but those are just the reasons that I've found while I've been raising my chickens in my backyard. Thanks for watching. Bye.